Good evening. My name is Kwabena. Welcome to tonight. Welcome. I want to share with you: stabilize your mind, stabilize your life. Stabilize your mind, stabilize your life. Depending on the background that we come from in this life, and the kind of importance that we place on the use of our mind, depending on the training that we had and the belief system that we were brought up with, and the kind of importance that we place on the power of the mind that we have as human beings, and then how that mind is used to help us do the things that we have to do and the things that we are in charge with our lives in this life. So I want to talk with you about when you stabilize your mind and the things that you can do with your life. The thing about this life is that if you're confused on things, your results will be confused. And so when you get to any environment that you see that a lot of things are not in order, it shows that the mind, the average mind of the people, is still not in order. That's why you see confusion everywhere. It means that there are a lot of things that they don't understand. There are a lot of things that they are trying to use. Maybe the thing is green, they are trying to describe it as yellow, and the thing is red, they are trying to say that it's black. And so you see that kind of confusion in the results. And when we see the results, the consistent, the continuous results that we get as people, as individuals, as maybe even a private company or as a country, it means that some things are not being stabilized, some things have not been set rightly. And until those things are set rightly, the results will not be consistent. The results once in a while will happen, but if it's not set rightly, we cannot count on continuous results. One of the things that I have seen is that when it comes to life on this earth, the results that people get, that countries get, that companies get, they have almost everything to do with what the status of the mind of the people, of the individual, the status of the mind, how they understand a lot of things. But the way we are being brought up as Africans is that there's a lot that we try to just use spirituality to understand, to interpret. When things are not the way that we wanted them to go, because of how we were brought up, we try to just say that maybe something somewhere is responsible for this, maybe it's destiny, maybe it should have been this. There's a lot that we try to interpret, especially the religious ones, the Christians especially, the training that they have given us, even when the things are within us, that we can strategize, that we can come up with systems and protocols to correct them, to make sure that we get solutions. People still look for spiritual interpretations to a lot of things, and when we compare them to other societies, you see that a lot of their results largely is because of the fact that they've been able to use their mind rightly to build systems and structures. I don't think that it's absolute, it's not 100%. But I think that if they say that our brain is that powerful, they told us, they say that it's that powerful. And I always wonder, why would God, so to say, give powerful brain to people, and then he turns around to say that don't use your brain? And so I'm talking about stabilize your mind and you stabilize your life. There's a lot that people can control you with based on what they teach you. And they have controlled a lot of us with fear. They have controlled a lot of us with the unknown. And so even if the answer is so clear for us to organize and change it, we still are looking up to what we call God. Today is not so much a good day in Ghana because there's a major accident that happened that killed somebody. And I can say that maybe half of the population believe that, it's destiny or it's spiritual or something like that. But when you get the resource, when you get the facts from the place that the accident happened, you see that there's something that somebody did not do, which may have contributed to the death. Somebody somewhere is responsible for something. And maybe other things that the people who got the accident also contributed. You see, but the typical modernized mind will ask, what is it that we didn't do right? Or what is it that we didn't get right? That's why these things continue to happen. We will not ask ourselves those questions. We will just say that it's something somewhere. It's destiny. It's God. It's a demon. And then some people will come out to say that they saw it in the spirit that some people were going to die. And so when you come from this kind of environment, I am of the opinion that you get traumatized. You get traumatized. You get confused in situations of life and how things are interpreted and how things are separated from realities. Things that are beyond us and things that are not beyond us. Things that we can do to correct. Because we come from this kind of environment, even the things that are very basic, we still make them very complex. And they continue to happen all the time. And you see, the thing is that it's not just it happens around you in terms of a society, but we carry the same thing to our personal lives. The things that we can easily change with just right thinking, right knowledge, we push it to somebody somewhere. It's God, it's a prophet, it's a man of God somewhere. And then we get to live 30, 40, 50, 60. And you see that a lot did not change in our lives. Because in this life, I know the source of life is God. I know that for certain. And I know that I didn't create myself. And I know that a lot of things, I'm not an atheist. I don't believe that things happen anyhow. I think that there's God somewhere. I think I am of the firm believer that Jesus came to this life. He died for mankind. I believe in that. I believe that his wisdom has sustained the world to this time. But I also believe that people can use the same kind of thing to control people. And I see it in the modern day African life. Instead of us trying to build a civilization, trying to build a society that can handle a lot of things within our domain, we still are being controlled by assumptions and doctrines and religion. And sometimes it's so painful, and sometimes you wonder. Somebody will just say that, oh, the girl was nasty, that's why she died. Is she the only nastiest girl in the world? Are there not prostitutes who have lived up to 70 years, 80 years? This is just a mere systemic failure. And yet we will go ahead and talk about a lot of things. And so I'm saying that if you're born on this part of the world, by the time you're 20 years, 30 years, your mind is unstable. Your mind is unstable. And until you stabilize your mind on some things that I'm going to talk about, your life will never change. Your life will never change. It goes up and it will come down. It goes up and it will come down. And we will attribute that to demons. To demons. I think that if they say, and this has to do more with religion than any other. Some of the things I'm going to talk about, because people who are not so much religious don't have any problem with the ability and the power of the mind and how it is stabilized, and when it is stabilized, the life that can be lived out of it. People who are not religious don't have problem with that. But people who were born religious into church try to put their mind on hold, and they want to live in this physical world. And that is a problem. That is a problem. And if you look at our results so far, whether it's at the personal level or whether it's a country level, what I see is that it's more of an instability of mind of a group of people who have a lot of things not thought rightly, a lot of things not structured rightly. And so we continue to get this kind of results that are coming from an unstabilized, centralized mind, so to say. The way the group processes information, the way the groups work, the way the group look at issues, those are now responsible for the results that we are getting. And instead of us to look for solutions, when you look for solutions and you're looking for academic, scientific, factual research kind of solutions, then you get the other group who come up against you quickly to say that everything is not just scientific is spiritual. And then you see we are torn between the other side and this side. And then we still stay where we are, and people continue to die, lives continue to get destroyed, because some things in this life are just as a result of the quality of information that we process, the quality of structures that we have put in place, the trainings that we give to people. People are using vehicles in this country. Most of the vehicles that we import are second-hand, that are worked on by mechanics who have no clue what they are doing. There's not proper training for the drivers on the road. Some of the tires that we use on our road, some of them are even, snow tires. The driver has SHS. He's 15, he's 20 years, he's 30 years. His whole agenda is to go and come. The road is bad. Major road linking one region to the other is single road. No light anywhere. And then when the accidents continue to happen, somebody go somewhere and try to come up with some kind of understanding. Spiritual, is this, is that. Yes, the spiritual is there. We can leave the spiritual for the spiritual people. But the country cannot be run. The president, after all, is not a priest. So if it's a spiritual, then we should probably look for a traditional priest to be our president, or maybe a pastor to be our president. Then we say that it's a spiritual entity. But so far as we voted for somebody to be there, it means that there are some facts. When they were trying to declare the president, the one who won the election, we didn't call for the Bible to declare. We just counted the votes. So it means that there are some things that we believe are physical, that we have to do rightly. And a lot of these things are just product of the quality of the mind that we have. So when you're an African, there is a lot of misunderstanding at the personal level. You are confused as to how do you go with, say, your life. How do you choose your life? The other day I met a friend who, when we were in school, I used to play the keyboard and very much active in church activities. So he was asking me, what do you go to church? Then I told him, and he said that, so do you still play the keyboard? I said, no, I'm not focused on business. So why? Are you not going to do the work of God? I look at him and I say, but the business I'm doing is the work of God. What do you think? Is it not the work of God? Do you think it's the work of the devil? He said, no, maybe play the keyboard in church or become a pastor or something like that. That's a major misunderstanding right there. So you want the society to have civility. You want the society to have people who have manners, who are Christians. And yet when anybody else exhibits some kind of gift in any other field apart from becoming a pastor, you think that person is not doing the work of God until he becomes a pastor. And then you go around to say that we will take on the society for Christ. How are you going to take on the society for Christ when you are turning everybody who is a Christian to becoming a priest, to becoming a pastor? How about some of us becoming business people? So how about some of us become scientists, professors, lawyers, politicians, across society, owning things, and we are Christians, and our core value system is Christianity, and we are honest, we are diligent, we value people. Do you see how lives will change? And if you go there as Christians with ethics, with value for human lives, with the tenets that Christ taught, if our society can have that. But you see, until you have a stabilized mind, and you're a young person and you're a Christian and love God, you will never have the confidence to say that I am doing business and this is what I think God has gifted me to do. Until you have a stabilized mind. And I could not have that until I started to read, to study, to listen to people who have that kind of philosophy. Because the average person, I would have just put the business down and just moved to become a pastor, even if I didn't sense that God called me into that, because there is some level of confusion as to when you become a Christian, and at a point in time, everybody thinks that if they are serving God, then they must become a preacher or they must work in God's house, so to say. And therefore, the one who is working to become a corporate bank manager or a CEO of a government institution really is not doing the work of God until he is into Christianity in the church. So that's another misunderstanding. So there are genuine things that happen in our society that we can easily gather data and see that this is what we are not doing rightly, and this is why the accidents are happening. This is why the children are dying. This is why when the women are giving birth in the hospital, they're dying. Instead of us to look for that, no. Instead of us to look for the problems and train people, build systems, build structures to correct them, the first option from the religious people, the Christians especially, will be spiritual. Not everything that you can interpret is fate, is destiny. The person was meant to be this. I saw, God showed me. And I'm always saying, if God showed you those problems, when is God going to show you when Africa is going to develop? When is God going to show you when we are going to come out with the drug to HIV? When God is going to show you? You know? So people are using religion and institutions to control a lot of us. And until you get your mind settled on some of these basic things, you will never be confident in your abilities, in yourself, and you will never even have confidence in God that you think you're serving. Because a lot of things are interpreted or explained shallowly. You know, because so they don't support the data. We look at the data and we look at the facts and we know that what we believe is not true. What we believe is not, it's not working. It's not something that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. The road that they had the accident, you can see that the road was wrong. And probably the driver was on top speed. If you look at the impact, the driver was on top speed. So instead of people who know this to come and explain some things, they will not allow those people. Somebody who has no idea how speed is related to mass goes around trying to explain an accident. If you look at impact, it's mv square. Okay, so when the mass is, say, maybe 10 kg or something like that, the speed, if you are going, let's say, 2 kilometers per hour, that 2, and somebody is going 3, the difference is not 1, because the speed is square. So any little speed, the impact is devastating. This is just scientific evidence. So when the man is driving in a dark, bad road with a second-hand vehicle, probably, what do you expect? Any little thing, the impact will just kill them. And so you have to get people who you understand, you train to understand that, listen, we don't have the best of road, we don't have the best of vehicles, we don't have the best of drivers. And so when you are in this kind of situation, this is how you go. Until we get to that level, you know, you drive like that. Because even if you get into the accident, by the time they take you from the accident scene to the hospital, you'll be gone. Because the handlers, they are not even trained. This is the society we live in. And so instead of us getting this thing set rightly, you will get people confusing us. And this thing happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and we still continue because we have not developed any protocol to train people to handle issues. And so when it comes to your personal life, it's the same. Things are not working. Instead of you to sit down to say that, what do I know about this thing? No. You are going from one preacher to the next preacher, one preacher to the next preacher, one preacher to the next preacher to look for solutions. And you have never picked any information on anything on that which is worrying you. So I'm saying that if you are from this part of the world, your mind is not stable until you consciously get down to get the facts on things that people who may not have been trained in this kind of environment know. Because anybody who at all was brought up in a civilized society, then when they come, they just ask you basic questions. It's not because they don't believe in God. They believe in God, but there are some things that are just basic, that they can easily ask you and say that, but this is why this thing happened. We will never even be conscious of it because of the society that we were born in. and the training that we have been given, and even the critical mind that they have given us. So if you're going to succeed coming from this kind of background, one, you have to make sure that your mind really is stabilized. Because if your mind is not stabilized, your life is not stabilized. And God that they preach to us is not against your mind, the power. Because He gave us the mind. And for you to be effective in this life, is the mind, is your ability to use your mind, and how competent, how strong you have developed your mind. That's how you are going to succeed in this life. It's as simple as that. Anybody who's succeeding in anything in this life, go and talk to them and see how much depth of knowledge that they have on the things that they are doing. That's why they are succeeding. This world is the mind that wins. It's not so much the so-called spirit. It's the mind that wins in this life. That's why countries that are succeeding, you see that they have built things out of the strength of their mind. Even when God is talking to you, the mind is the gateway to the spirit. There are things that if you cannot interpret, they drop them in your spirit, you will still not be able. If you have never seen it, you can picture it. That's the fact of life. If you don't understand engineering principles and you don't understand engineering maths and everything, and let's say God gave you another formula, how are you going to interpret it? Because your mind is not trained in that area. And yet people want to tell us that our mind is useless and therefore we cannot even ask any questions. And that's why the society, our personal lives, are still unstable on a lot of things. If you look at a lot of things that people go through, the worries that people go through, the aspirations, the dishonesty and everything, just because the people are not stabilized in their thinking. And so their lives cannot be stable. Their lives cannot be stable. You know, because you look at this guy who just finished college. Instead of him to sit down and take data and analyze his life and where he's going, no, we'll never do that. And he's declaring fasting every day. As if the devil only lives in Africa. And so we cease to think. We put a man on hold. Especially those, and anytime you meet somebody who is asking any question, the first question from the Christians will be, are you still a Christian? Do you still believe in God? Because they think that if you believe in God, you cannot ask questions. Why things are like that? Because everything else is spiritual, demonic, satanic, something somewhere that is beyond us. There's not that much that is beyond us. A lot of things are still within our control. A lot of things in this life are just organized by people who have trained mind. They are the ones who, for instance, if the engineer who was in charge of the road had been prompt to correct the trouble on the road, maybe a lot of people could have been saved. You know, but the man probably is sitting down looking for somebody to come and give him money before he moves, because he's not been conditioned to value lives. So his mind is unstable. He will do it today, tomorrow you can't count on him, because nobody equipped him. And if you ask him a question, he will tell you, oh, Masa, we are the ones talking like that, majority. It doesn't mean other people don't talk like that, but our percentage is very high. And once we can give excuses which is beyond, things that make sense, we will never look for the solutions, consistent solutions, because we always have interpretation beyond what we know. And that is Africa. So when you're born here, you have to understand that your mind is in trauma. It's in trauma. And if you don't believe it, just talk to people about issues and see the answers that they give you. The thing is so basic, it's in front of him and he's giving you something esoteric. Because he was taught that from the church, from the folktale, from a lot of things. And so when your mind is not stable, that's why we have the life that we have. So we can, even if you think our mind is stable, that's fine. But look at the results that we continue to have. It just shows that there's something that we are overlooking. And so if you're going to succeed at anything in this life, it would have to do with your mind. The strength of your mind, how stable you are. Some people go around teaching Africans about success and entrepreneurship and things that they teach us. And sometimes they teach us as if you live in an organized, civilized, developed economy. I would not want, I don't subscribe to that. I think that before you can equip the African, you should stabilize his mind on himself, his confidence in himself, his clarity on what they call religion or church, and things that have to do with physical facts. Okay, you have to correct that. Stabilize his mind on how assertive he is, on things that they can solve with their common sense, and things that they can leave to religion. Because the religion or the preaching or the church is so powerful in our economy, in our environment, and yet the information that they're giving to the people are making them almost imbecile. You know, they are crippling the people, so the people live out of fear. You get a guy come to the interview and he says that my prophet said that I should bring a CV here. Do you need somebody to tell you that if you don't have a work, pick a CV and go and look for work? And they think that when they do that, it means that they are serving God. But for me, the proof that you're serving God is your heart of love, the strength of your character, the way you treat people. But most of these people, when they come around, you see that they are full of fear, they are dishonest, they don't respect themselves, they don't even respect people, and they talk of God. So we have it turned upside down. You know, when you talk of God, we see organization, we see precision, we see excellence. This man is talking of God, and there's no solution, there's no precision, there's no thinking, there's no wisdom, there's no knowledge, there's no understanding of anything around them, and they think that they are serving God. See, because their mind is out of stability. It's out of stability, and that's what they have told us. And it's a major thing. So if you're going to succeed in this life, your ability to use your mind and the right knowledge that you feed the mind will be the reason why you succeed. The man who does not know anything about religion, if he develops his mind and he understands life and he gets data, he gets proper information, continues to update himself. If you start business with him, he will beat you. If you start anything with him, he will beat you. If he's the president, he will beat you. Why? Because you succeed in this life from out of quality of decision making, the strength of the mind. And yet they want to tell us that our mind is useless. So anything, when there is any pain, we don't even look at anything. We just blame the demon. We just blame anything. You meet a lot of people who say that they say that my mother is a witchcraft. Are you stupid? Where's your head? Your mother is a witchcraft. She gave birth to you. Now that she needs you, somebody else wants to control your money, control your life, and that person is telling you lies, and you believe that your mother is a witchcraft. So what is a witch? So you stop going to your mother, paying attention. Mother who is about 70 years, who needs support. You leave that to go and support this young man who is controlling everything that you have in the name of Christ, in the name of God, which is also a charm, it's a lie. But because your mind is unstable, you don't even see it. And you think that you're serving God. And this is what they're doing to us. So it's more of fear, it's more of the spirituality, it's more of everything. And when you meet people like that, you see that these are people who are wounded, who are in trauma. And it's all over Africa. The MP is going to look for elections and he's going to go to the Malam to go and pay and do some incantation so that he can win. The boy who is playing football is going to somewhere to do some charm so that he can go and play and win. The boy who is looking for business contract goes to somebody somewhere. Instead of him to do the right things, the basic things, no. And so you see that the people's mind is unstable. And that is the problem. And once you have a lot of them in majority, that's why we have the results that we have as a community. That's why we have the results that we have at an individual level. It's because we are unstable mentally. We are not conditioned to be stable because of the information that they are giving to us. And you may doubt it, you may not agree with it. It doesn't matter, but look at the results that you have. And they use God, they use spiritism, they use fear, they use control just for their favor. And when you question these things, they say that you don't believe in Christ. But Christ was a sound mind. You grew in wisdom. You grew in understanding. So how can you be of Christ and be that idiotic? There's something that growing up has destabilized our mind. So you put a lot of Africans there, maybe 90%, until they are conscious of working against this to put their minds to work. They're like that. They go up, they come down. They go up, something happens, we all get pained, we all get sad. Then the next day, we don't look at anything, sustainable thing to solve it. No. We never look at that. Why? Because our mind is unstable. Because we don't even believe that the solution that we are offering is really what is it. We think that it is just some spirit somewhere. So whatever they have put in our mind, so far, they either free us or they enslave us. So they are our interpretation of God, of ourselves, or the things that they teach us. They either enslave us or they give us freedom. And when you look at our results, a free people will have growth. A free people will be able to take care of the environment. They'll be able to bring solutions. They'll be able to reduce the sickness, the debt, the pain, the poverty. A free people are people who have stabilized mind. And so when you see all the bad things in increasing order, it means that the mind is not free. Somebody has taught us wrongly. So people can be controlled by the way their mind works, and they can be conditioned with the wrong information about themselves, about God, about everything that happens around them. And when they are controlled like that, their mind is unstable. So today they are fine. Tomorrow you see that it's like somebody who is mentally unstable, or like the ones that we see. Sometimes you can ask their name, they mention their name to you, and the next day you ask their name, and they don't even remember their name. Why? Because of the conditioning. So facts. If you look at people who live outside the country, there are so many things that they can say, but why are you doing this? This one means that you are never going to succeed. So for instance, you go to Achimota Forest Monday morning, people are praying, saying that they're serving God. And what are they praying about? Good life, prosperity, good job, money. Those are the things that they're praying about. They are not praying about more love for God, more love for people. No, they are praying for their lives. But you're spending all your life there, and the little money that you have, you're also spending it there. Then you are praying for prosperity. How does it add up? When the guy who does not even believe in God go to spin tests, a lot of these foreigners don't even believe in the God that you're shouting, and they are the ones giving us the job. They have a lot of money. They are creating businesses everywhere. Shouldn't that click you? That there's something wrong with the way you look at life, the way you look at issues? No. Why? Because that kind of information was seen as worldly, was seen as unchristian. And so the Christian is the one who's looking at everything with the eye to find a demon. And for me, that is what has made our minds in trauma. And so anybody who tries to tell you that your problem is demonic, you will follow them. And they use that to control us all the time. So any little boy anywhere who just stamps, who gets up tomorrow, says that I'm a prophet, you see a lot of people will follow them. Because that thing is in us. A lot of our people are unstable in mind. So the moment they can tell you, I see this, I see this, I see this, tomorrow you see a lot of them following them quickly. Because a lot of people are unstable. But they cannot even look at the facts. The facts are there when you open your eyes. But you cannot question a lot of things until they show you that probably the way you look at life is wrong. And a lot of it in Africa is wrong. In Africans, there's a lot of wrong information about who we think God is, who we think Christianity is, who we even think the work of God is. So that's the fact. You can debate it. That's the fact. Look at the way there's church everywhere. And all of them are trying to do miracles for something. And they're all taking money. Doesn't that sound anything to you? You see, the guest deaf, everybody is trying to tell you that they gave prophecy, that this thing was going to happen. Do you need a prophet to tell you that these things will happen? The roads are bad. We don't make the cars. So many guys are just making do they use any calculation to make the cars? The air stability and everything that the car go to, the fluid stability. Do they know? No. They just use their natural gift. There's no engineering principles around it, a lot of the things that you're doing. The driver that you when they have not even used the road, when they have never gone through the road before, they're still on top speed. And they have never taken that road before. But they're still on top speed. And the passengers will never even question them that, listen, go, stop, wait. They will not even, they will just be there quiet. Then they crash. And the next minute, somebody is saying that is what? It's demon. It's not demon. Just people whose mind is unstable. So our choices, we are not even asking any questions. So in this world, the number one tool that makes people win is the power of their mind. It's the power of their mind. This world, if you are going to win, those who are winning in this world, those who have a lot of money, those who are going to build better businesses, better products, industries, it's not because you're going to be, it's not because you're Christian. So get that fact right. It's not because you're Christian, that's why you're going to be successful in this life. No. God bless this life. They said that for God so loved the world. They didn't say that for God so loved the Christians. For God so loved the world. So the fact that anybody is in this world has access to the blessings of God. They are just humans. And so if you believe that because you're a Christian, you are worth, you are the one to control everything, and you are ignorant, is not going to happen. It's a lie. The one who has the access to knowledge, access to strength of mind, those who know what they are doing and they are committed to it, they are the ones who are going to win. It's not the one who is praying. No. If you believe in Christ, you can go to heaven. That is a fact of life. But to win here, you need people who are stabilized in the mind. And a stabilized mind are people who can put a lot of things into perspective. They know what is required of them. They know what is required of the other. They know how to organize things, write documents to make sure things run smoothly. And if things don't run smoothly, they go back to check. Why is this thing not working? They are not the one rushing to go and pray. They sit down to see why. Where is the system? Why are we getting this output? What happened to the input? What did we put there? These are the people who win. These are the people who win. When in the Bible, when God wanted Noah to build the ark to save the people, why didn't God bring the ark from heaven? And I can tell you that Noah had some engineering knowledge. He knew how to build it. They should not tell us that, oh, God gave him all the wisdom. He knew, he had practical knowledge as to the laws of flotation, how to cut the wood, how to plane the wood, where to put what to get the boat floating. He knew something. But they always tell us that some of these things are magic, are spiritual. And so when you get God, these things will just come to your head. And that is the problem. That is the problem. You are not going to become a medical doctor if you don't go to medical school. That's a fact. No pastor is going to pray for you so that you become a medical doctor. Is the pastor using laptop in the church? Why didn't he pray for the laptop to drop? Is he using his mobile phone? Why didn't he command that one? Somebody used his mind to build that mobile phone, to build that laptop. And that person may not be Christian. Yet you're telling these Christians that they are going to be rich. God will just bring money from heaven to them. That's a lie. And that's why you look for the last 20 years, they're still poor. They are, dejected. They live on penury because you are telling them that they don't need their mind. Yes, in this life, if your mind is not right, there's a lot that is not going to work. The marriage won't work, the finances won't work, the business won't work, the country around your life will not work because you don't have the right data. You don't have a stabilized mind to make the right choices. That's why things are not going to work. It's not spiritual, it's not demonic. You have cast all the demons, they still keep coming. It's not demonic. That's why the Christ himself spent a lot of time teaching about how to live this life. And yet a lot of Africans now, we are not taught how to use anything. We are just taught to believe in God and wait for him. And that's so the problem. It's a major thing. It's a major problem for even convinced. If you see any committed African Christian, look at the books they read. Look at the magazines they read. And look at their conversations. Check the social media and look at the conversations of our people. So there's a problem. Today is Friday, all of them are in church praying to God for God to change their situation. And nobody is telling them that your situation is not going to change until your mind is changed. So the African is in trauma, is living in pain. You talk to people on the street when you are driving and there's any little misunderstanding. Do you see the anger out of people? Do you see the little things that is a proof that people are not in stability of mind because of the programming, because of the information that we consistently give them. I remember there was a man who had something drop out of his bag. I think it was a phone charger that he mistakenly picked from somebody. And so when he dropped and they called him that, oh, sir, your thing is on the floor. You know why the man didn't pick? Because he thought that somebody probably put some juju somewhere. That's how our mind easily go. There is juju, is something. So our mind is conditioned to just go in. We can't even say that, but it's a cable. It can be anything. And so long as we try to interpret things this way, there is a lot of instability. So there's a lot that are being put out there to Africans to become successful in terms of business, in terms of career, professional development, financially, becoming successful. But until you tell them to stabilize their mind as to who they are, who God is, their philosophy and value for life, things that they can interpret with data and with analysis and with research, without feeling bad, that those are also right tools, and that the young man who is a Christian can build a business, can join politics and still be serving God. And that is the work of God, because what they are doing is changing lives for society. Until you can get them to think like that, you have put a lot of them into trauma. So you meet a very young guy who is very innovative, they can come out with a lot of thinking and change things of society. The next time you see him, that guy has put everything down and he's saying that he's going to do the work of God. So now he's a preacher. And so when people are in churches, they ask them, when are you going to do the work of God? When are you going to become? I remember somebody came to our office and they asked one of our boys, oh, this one, you are just using it to train so that you can go and do the work of God. You see the confusion? There is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion. So they are dragging people to becoming pastors. They have never worked anywhere, no professional experience, and they say that they were doing the work of God. And then those who, one way or the other, don't want to do it, feel they're still remorseful, they still doubt of themselves all the time. They don't even know whether they are making the right decision or not, because the information being given to them every time is that they are out of the will of God, because they are not in suit and tie preaching on the pulpit every Sunday. So when you talk to them, you see that they are very unsure of themselves, and they are very unsure of the acceptance that they think that God has for them. And they are very unsure of even themselves, of their gift, of their contribution to society. And they probably think that they are serving the devil. And if anybody has that kind of thinking, his mind is not stabilized. He's not made his mind rightly. He's not decided what his life is about. Almost all the time, when you see anybody anyway, they have to become a deacon or they have to be a pastor somewhere to feel like they're serving God. And this is what they have put in us. These are facts. These are the things that they have put in us. So the Christians, you see that they live in continuous self-doubt, continuous self-challenge. They are not sure. They go two steps, they come back 3 steps. They go 2 steps, they come back 3 steps, because they have the passion to go and do this. And they are telling them that you have to become this in the church, you have to become this in here. And if anything happens to them, they attribute it to the fact that they were running away from God's business. There's a lot of misunderstanding and confusion on the Christian. And that's why the life is not stabilized. Because when your mind is not set, your life will never be set. When your mind is unstable, your life is unstable. When your mind is not stable, your life is not stable. And those are facts. I had to go through the same kind of things, because you love God, you want to go to church and serve God, and the next minute they want to tell you, when are you going to become a pastor? When are you going to handle a church? When are you going to do that? You would have to have quality, better knowledge to convince yourself that what you're doing is not against God. And that is a tough one. And they're doing that to Africans everywhere, especially the Christians. And then we wonder why we're still poor. We're still poor because you are turning everybody into a preacher. And we're telling them that they have to do the work of God. And then the other ones who are smoking and do all kind of nonsense, they are the ones getting into all these political positions, and they are making all these decisions, destroying a lot of things. And then the same people go around trying to pray to change the things. How does that work? This kind of analysis only comes from people who have unstable mind, who have not had their thoughts streamlined well. And that is people from, people who look like me, because of the culture, because of how we were brought up. If you're going to your office and you saw that they had cut a chicken head and hang it on your office and they poured a blood on it, and you went there, the first thing you will say is that somebody has come here, he wants to kill me. You will not even pass through the door. Somebody from another culture who has nothing, who has never experienced and who has never heard some of these folktales around these things, he will just pick a camera and shoot and take it and go, and nothing will happen to him. And nothing will happen to him. And that's why people continue to control us out of fear, out of panic. They are trying to tell you that they are the prophets, they are the ones who have power over you. And I'm asking myself, if these people have power over you, then why did Christ come? If he came to be the mediator between you and God, why do you need another man between you and God, who is just trying to control you, all kind of machinations and wrong teachings and everywhere? So when you talk to people, you see that they have no self-value, they have no self-confidence. Their belief is not no more even in God. Their belief is in their pastor. Whenever I'm interviewing any girl in the office or any boy in the office who talks like that, I hardly try to pick them. I don't pick them because I know that they've been wounded, they've been destroyed. In few instances that I will try to talk to them for them to see that they've been wrongly taught, that they have no self-value at all. They don't even believe in Christ anymore. They believe in the pastor. And that is wounding. It's a wound, and there are many. So their mind is unstable. Their mind is unstable as to how money is gained, how money is created. They think that once they go to church and they give tithe and offering, they will be blessed. That is instability of mind. Wrong information. Those are facts. And until we get people to think rightly, this country, this continent, many lives will not change. Because the fact that you have given 10% to somebody in church, if they say that it's that, go ahead and give it if you want to. But who will not be rich if you're taking 10% from everybody? Then they come around to tell you that God has blessed them. If I have 10,000 people who maybe 80% of them are giving me 10% of their monthly salary every month, beyond that, I'm giving them offering everywhere. You think that I will not be rich? I'll be rich. That's the fact of life. I'll be rich. Then I'll call it the blessing of God. And then the other people who are bringing this 10% still go back to work 3 jobs, 4 jobs, paid penny, and they are poor. And you say that what demon is doing them? Because you have produced people who have been wounded, people who can think rightly, because they have had to love God. Yet they've been taught God wrongly. And that is the African. That is the African. The African is religious. The African is always looking for a supreme being to believe in, which is good. But then that same belief system has been used to control us. And now you can see it everywhere. It's being used everywhere. Any young man somewhere just start anything. And if you can't give birth, they will help you. They will come up with all kind of things. If you can't find a job, they will help you. They are praying for people to get visa to travel everywhere. You know, so long as they can tell people to behave like that, it means that they are just telling people who are very unstable in their mind, who can ask questions, who cannot even read between the lines. And if anybody dares to read anything, they say that, hey, you don't even love God anymore. You have backslidden. And yet, this is not what the Christ came to do. This is not it. Because somebody was going to church and armed robbers attack him. The parable of the neighbor or somewhere, and the priest saw him and passed. Everybody, and the other guy who saw him and took care of that man. Christ said that was the man who took care of his neighbor. You see it? The man who had time to take care of another man. If there's trouble, how many of us take time to handle the other man? To be interested in the life of another man. Until you're interested in the life of another man, your mind is unstable. You believe a lie. You're self-focused. So anybody at all can tell you anything and you follow them. Because you're just looking for something for yourself. And that's why they can tell a lot of the young girls any story and they follow them. Because the young girls are just looking for something only for themselves. They cannot live beyond themselves. That's an unstable mind. An unstable mind is the one who believes that if they don't work, they'll be rich. That's an unstable mind. An unstable mind is the one who will not sit down to calculate the things around his life and think that some demon somewhere is trying to do them. You know, your mother took care of you, and now that you have a job, you think that your mother is the one who is trying to kill you. Your mind is not working. The unstable mind is the one who is praying 24 hours a day and waiting for God to bless him. That's an unstable mind. And so far as those things continue to work in our people, the continent will suffer. The unstable mind is the man who is trying to go to the malam to get rich, trying to kill a child, take the head to somebody so that he will get rich. You don't get rich like that. You get rich by building a business, by working well, getting proper financial knowledge. That's why you get rich. So far as our people are still driven by superstition, something happens in your business, you will not even sit down to analyze anything. The next minute you are panicking, you are going to a preacher for him to identify what? How much business has the preacher? How many businesses has that preacher built? Does he know anything about business at all? No. Oh, he's a man of God. He can tell me the answer. So why have they not told us the answers for Africa to develop? So there is a limit, and you don't even have confidence in anything that you have. You see, because they have told us a lot for us to doubt ourselves, and that is just an evidence of people who have an unstable mind. And so far as the mind is not stabilized, nothing else can be taught that will work until you're able to establish yourself as to the knowledge that you need for yourself, and the confidence that you need to build the life that you want, and the fact that you have to know that God is not against a quality mind, making right decisions. God is not against that. Until you understand that God gave the wisdom to the doctor, to the engineer, to the lawyer. God works through those people. God is not just working through the one who is just saying, come out. No. God can use this kind of thing that I'm telling you to build your life, for you to have a peaceful life, an organized life. And yet somebody will say that this is not God. God is the one in the suit and tie opening the Bible. So there's a lot of misunderstanding and there's a lot of wrong information that Africans have, and that has produced Africans who are very they're erratic, they're in trauma. The last time I was standing somewhere and the car just got an accident, and people were wounded everywhere. We did not even know what to do to make sure that the people could get to the hospital safely. There's no protocol, there's no system anywhere to take care of that. And so those are the things that we go through as Africans. There's a lot. So when you are talking to any African, these are the things, and these are the things that people worry about all the time. These are the thoughts of people. They worry about a lot of things that are linked to superstition, to fear, misunderstanding of themselves, misunderstanding of God. There's a lot of confusion that they have told us. And that is why the environment is in confusion. That's why the road, the cars are killing. That's why you go to the ministries, people just work anyhow, and they think that the country will still develop because they have gone to pray. The country is not going to develop any soon, until the people change the way they work, change the way they see the citizens, the way they place the citizens. You place the foreigner above your citizens, and you think that your country is going to develop. It's not going to develop. And so if you can help the African, the first thing you have to need is that you have to stabilize their mind, their emotions, that they're thinking about themselves, before you can even give them any information at all. So people are talking to us as if we live in an organized environment. We don't live in an organized environment. We are still yet to get organized. So if I meet a young person, if I meet a young African, I'm not going to teach a lot of the things that I can teach the one who is coming from an organized and a civilized environment. I have to make sure that he organizes his thought, but his value, himself, his value for people, his understanding of who God is. That's a major thing, because we all call the name God, and we think that God is some magician somewhere who just change your life. That's why when you hear people say, "Oh, those kind of things," it's always everywhere. God will do it. Like God will get tired. Why? God will do it. He's giving you a powerful mind until you know that in this life, if you're going to change, you have to stabilize the mind and get right information, or nothing will change. And you will not be able to do anything significant with your life until you have what it takes. Let's assume that you went to school and you did marketing. No matter how much prayer you pray, you cannot become an expert as a lawyer or an expert as a doctor. No matter how much prayer you do, until you go back to school to learn that. It's simple. It's the same way. That's how powerful the mind is. And yet that guy somewhere who is calling himself a pastor that you've been following all along, he knows nothing about any of this. You go there, he just tells you go and read the Bible and pray. And you've been doing that for 20 years. Nothing has changed in your life. You still believe in that. Because your mind is wounded, is in trauma. And so the African is wounded. So that's why we cannot just jump to success theories when we want to teach the African. You have to stabilize them. Because things that we get to hear every day, they are disheartening. One truck is on the road, VIP is coming, the next minute 17 people, they're gone for nothing. You go and interview the driver, he probably cannot even write his name. And then we go there, we cry that he's demon. He's not demon. It's not demon. A lot of things can easily be understood. Not everything, but there's a lot that we can easily explain. There's so much that we can easily explain as Africans. So your life is not going as it is. Look at your mind, the status of your mind. What is it that you know? What is it that you don't know? What are the doubts that you have in yourself? Can you plan your life? Do you have any aspiration anywhere? Do you understand your life, your strength? You don't work on those things and you're just saying that some demon somewhere is doing you. No demon anywhere is doing you. You are just doing yourself because you have no value for the mind that God gave you. The reason why Apostle Paul was able to write the books that he wrote in the Bible and the others could not, because the mind was developed. He was a strong man. He had a working mind. He was a lawyer, philosopher. He knew a lot of things. You know, and yet somebody is trying to tell you, oh, Jesus walked with Peter. Peter didn't go to school, but he walked with God. And this guy, listen, don't let any man teach you who didn't go to school in this modern day. Don't sit anywhere to let any man anywhere just, you know, you go to school, we go and learn something, and then you come there. We come to church and they are telling us things that you have never even studied, read. And these are the guys feeding your mind all the time. And you wonder why your life is not improving. Your life is not improving because somebody who is teaching you every day knows nothing. The only control he has over you is because he mentioned the name of God. And that is the problem in Africa. You send your children to school to go and do all this, pay them, and then they come back, they say they are Christians. And then they go to Sunday to go and listen to this guy who knows nothing. And he's teaching them things to live on this earth with. And he has no clue. Then why did you send these children to school in the first place? For them to be taught by an ignorant man, illiterate, in the name of God. My God. So our people's mind is unstabilized. It's unstabilized. So ask questions. Macarius, say, yes, I will learn to stabilize my mind. If you don't do that, your life will never be stabilized. So stabilize your mind about your understanding of God, that God is not against the use of your mind. If he was against it, why would he give it to us? And your mind is that powerful. That's why everything that you have gone through, your mind gathered the data. And it still has the ability to gather a lot of data. So somebody didn't go to any school anywhere, and yet every Sunday you go there and he's teaching you what? What is he teaching you? And it's to go. Get to somebody who knows something, who believes in you, not somebody who creates fear in you. An accident happens and he's the one going around, he said, I gave a prophecy. You gave a prophecy for what? The road was blocked. The guy was probably top speed, dark road, inexperienced. What do you think will happen? People will die. Do you need God to waste his time to come and tell you this for you to tell us? But because you are not asking any questions, they created fear in everybody. They have made themselves more powerful than God, and we all believe in them. And that's the problem. So when you go through this kind of culture, I'm saying that your mind does not work. It's not stabilized yet. And that's why we have that life that the life that vacillates. Today it goes up, tomorrow it comes down. Today it goes up, tomorrow it comes down. You see somebody who is doing well in his business, then he wants to open another branch, then you cause this guy to come and pour some oil somewhere and chant some things. Then go for the malam. That's better. Because you know that is a malam, or go for the comfort, then you know that you have gone for comfort. But this guy comes to pour water here and thinking that your business was... No, this is not Christ. No, this is not Christianity. This is something else. But if you were the one who is doing this, your mind is not stable. You don't even know how common sense applies. And so when you believe in these things, your life will never be stable. It goes up and down, and your happiness will never be there, because your emotions are attached to somebody's emotions. And when he's happy, you're happy. When he's low, you are low, because you don't even know yourself. You're lost because of the programming that they have given us. They have programmed us with wrong knowledge on God. They have programmed us with wrong knowledge about environment. They have programmed us with wrong knowledge about ourselves. So there's a lot of things that are upside down. And that is the African, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's the African. So the African, before you can lift the African up, you need to stabilize his mind first. When you get his mind stabilized, then you can teach him. And then his life can progress. Then he will start to understand who God is, how organized God is. God expects him to read, to research, to read books, to get data. It's not just about only every day waiting for God to drop something supernatural to you. Even if he drops something supernatural to you, you still have to interpret it. Are you organized to interpret that? And these are facts that when you talk about them, they say that you're Antichrist. You're not Antichrist. The results prove that those who are teaching us the other ones are the Antichrist, not the one who is telling you, get organized, believe in yourself, love people, love God, or get organized, steady. If you're going to change your finances, it's not the prayer they pray for you in the church that is going to change your finances. It's never true. It's never going to happen. There are laws, there are systems, there are structures, there are decisions that you have to make before your finances will change. Those are facts. So if you don't believe in that and you continue to go to Achimota Forest to pray and wait for God to change your life, okay, this is 2018. 2022 will come, your life will not change, because this life will only change by the strength of the mind that you have developed, the stability that you have in your mind. And that's what gets your life organized. And until your life is organized, nothing will change in your life. And that's why the country is not going to change just because somebody is saying somewhere we have prayed. No, it's not going, because the people are making the wrong decisions because their mind has not been stabilized. Their mind has not been stabilized. And once the mind is not stabilized, and all over the world, they know it. It's only the Africans we don't know. All over the world, they know it. If you want to build a country, you develop the people first. Develop the minds of the people first. The ability to believe in themselves, to believe. If you want to build a company, develop yourself first. Develop your people. Then out of that, they will build the country. Put your people in the first priority, in the first place. Give them the best of treatment. Give them the best of everything. The best of knowledge, the best of treatment, the best of everything. Then they will develop the country. But if your people are dying everywhere, running away, being killed on unnecessary road accidents that are highly preventable, you are not going to develop as a country. You will not be able to build a business if you don't put the people first. And the quality of decisions the people are making is only contingent on the stability of their mind. On the stability of their mind. So they can teach you something wrongly, and you can live it all your life without even knowing it. So you stabilize the people mentally until they can produce results. If you see the results which is not continuous, which is not consistent, it means that the mind is not stable. That's right. So it goes up, it comes down. It goes up, it comes down. There's no proper document. There's no proper system. There's no proper structure coming out of the ingenuity of the people to produce the results. And so we are not going to just have consistent growth, consistent structure, consistent development, because the mind is not stabilized. There's a lot of doubt. An unstable mind has a lot of doubt. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of things that people are not sure of. And that's why we don't have stable lives. So once you don't have stable lives, that's how it is. So you stabilize your personal philosophy of life. What life is about. What life is about. You stabilize that. And you stabilize your philosophy on what we call God. What does he want and what does he like? Because all of us try to confuse a lot of things with religion. And so I think that if you want to help Africans, you have to really define God for them. Really define God for them. Because our understanding of God is that some magician somewhere coming to solve our problems for us. That is the way we understand God. And that is a proof that we are unstable. I think that the way we understand God is that God is a perfect God. God is structured. God is God of love. That's how I understand God. God is a God of character, justice, truth. And so if I'm learning from God, I want to see this kind of characteristics developed in me consistently. So I cannot profess to be loving God and not love my neighbor. I cannot profess to be loving God and not have wisdom, and not have knowledge, not have understanding, not understand how things are done, how to use my time, how to use my resources, how to build something. If those things I don't see in God, then the God that I understand is a different God from the one that I see. If I see Jesus, for instance, he was a courageous man, he was organized, he was wise, he was meticulous. I see that. They only tell us about the miracles that Jesus did, but I can see Jesus who was very organized, meticulous, thoughtful, kind. That is the side of Jesus that I want to see more than the miracles. Because if you're organized, there's a lot that you will need without the miracles. So you teach your people that way. Because until they get that, how do they work? How do they work? Can anybody at all tell you that there's a demon somewhere and you start to go after them? Like you're there and somebody will just tell you that I'm a malam somewhere. Somebody has brought your name. If you don't send me the money, I'll kill you. And you shiver and you go and send them the money. Your mind is not stable. Because you are trained with fear. You are trained to believe in superstition. So you don't even put a lot of things. You don't ask relevant questions. So you're unstable. And it doesn't matter the age. They tell you to come to church every day. You go. Your life is still nothing. There's no meaning to your life. And you continue to go. No, at a point you have to ask your question. I'm investing my time. I'm investing my resources. What have I become? Have I become anything? Or I am desperate, I'm miserable, innerly I'm not satisfied, I don't even know where my life is going. If you have those questions, ask the way you spend your time, ask the way you spend your money, look at how you gather information, and a lot of the things that they are saying God is against, God is not against a lot of them. The knowledge in this life that is producing things in this life, God is not against them. As a matter of fact, He is knowledge, so He gave people enlightenment, people who focus to develop their brain. He gave them that so that they could come up with something. Do you think that God is against the guy who came up with the light, or the fridge, or the telephone, or the TV, or the internet? No. And they could not do that until they had the knowledge, and they believed that they could do it. That's why they did it. Now we are waiting for God to help us. That's the instability that I'm talking about. There's something with your gift that you can do. You never do it, you're waiting for God. So you stabilize the African identity. Don't doubt yourself. There's nothing wrong with you as an African. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that is wrong with you is the wrong information that they have given you, that they are using to control you. In the religion, in the school, in the politics, so we are never sure. We're waiting for somebody to help us all the time. So you stabilize your finances as well. You cannot stabilize your finances without the right financial knowledge. And you can stabilize your relationship, and that will come from the stability that you have in your relationship, the thought that you have in that. So you stabilize your belief system as well, your faith, and don't let anybody use religion to control that you have in your life. And that's what they are doing across board, everywhere. Every corner you see, there's a young boy somewhere who has started church. Everywhere there's a young boy who has started church somewhere with suit and tie, and they polish their face. Can't you ask your questions? Why should I come for this man to teach me? What has he done? What has he learned? What has he done before this? Ask questions. Because the man will try to teach you finances, job, everything, and he has never done it. Even Christ himself worked. He worked. He traded. He was a carpenter at least. That one I know. And that's why he was organized when he started his work. And so stabilize your mind on what they call God, because I think that is a very much confusing a lot of Africans. They are confusing a lot of Africans with God and what it stands for, and what they call the work of God. That is also major trouble, because anytime you exhibit any heart love for God, they say that you have to stop what you are doing and become a pastor. And so they turn everybody into a pastor, and then the crooks become the head of the institutions around the country, and then we are the ones complaining. That's why the results are not changing. That's why the accidents are happening. And they are not demonic. There are things within our control that if you want to solve them, we can solve them. They are systemic. They are structural failure. A lot of the things that happen in this life, they are as a result of the failure of the application of the things that people know, or the things that they were not able to come up with. So if anything is not working in your life, if anything is not working around you, don't be that quick to go and blame a demon or some superstition somewhere. Don't. The first thing is that, do I know this? What is the data? What do I have to find out? What happens somewhere? What is it is not working? How do they do it in another country? How is the other person doing this? That is how things work. But they told us that if anything is not working, go and cry to God. And then there's a demon somewhere, there's a prophet somewhere who has to help you to find everything. And they are enjoying that kind of prestige, and they are wounding, they are destroying our people. And I'm of the strong belief that the African is wounded, the African is in trauma. The mind of the African is not stabilized, because there's a lot of misunderstanding on a lot of things. You see the way people are very sad today, and some people are trying to just use all kind of things to interpret whatever happened. It's just systemic failure. It's not demon. It's not a systemic failure. There's a bad road somewhere. Somebody is driving top speed. What training did we give to the people? There's a lot of systemic failure. There's nothing like demons somewhere. No, forget the demons. They are somewhere. Are we the only people on this earth that demons are chasing? How about those in America? How about those in China? How about those in Dubai? Even if there's a demon and you try to structure and build your systems and put your people first, the demons will stop and run away. But we don't do anything, and if something happens in your life, the first thing is that, there's something somebody has done to me, that's why this is happening. There's nothing. How about if you don't know? How about your mind is not working? And so they put a lot of fear in all these people, and once there is fear, your mind is not stable. And if your mind is not stable, your life will never be stable. So your life will never be stable as a country, not because there's spirit somewhere. It's because things have not been thoughtfully done. That's why things happen. It's not demon. It's not spirit. If you're looking for money and you go to pay money in the church, does not mean you'll be rich. Go and pay money in the church, no problem. You have love God, but that's not what is going to make you rich. What is going to make you rich is you coming out with a product, coming out with a service, improving your financial knowledge, starting some business somewhere, taking the work that you're doing seriously. That is what is going to make you rich. It's not you going to church to pray. That is never going to make you rich. That's the fact. And people will not believe that. You say, my pastor has prayed for me, I'll be rich. It's never true. Don't believe it. Look back 24 years, 30 years ago. Is it true? How many of the worst billionaires were prayed by your pastor to be rich? So that is an error. And that is a mental failure. That is a mental instability. That's a systemic failure. People go through a lot of wrong things because we don't sit down to think and structure. So poor countries are being taken advantage of by superstitious, religious beings who have made themselves that powerful across board. So, they are trying, and Ghana is, unfortunately, that is it. Everything you see somebody come up to say something about what. It's amazing. Every time you see somebody come out to say something about anything. I don't care about the elderly, but I care about the young people. Because they have more access to data. And they have legitimate questions that they're asking. If we don't give them answers, what you're telling them, they will not take. If any boy is 12 years, 8 years, you are telling them that the accident is demon, they will not take. They ask you a question. How can it be demonic? When you left the sand somewhere, when contractor is working and it was behaving, when the car was on top speed, how can you say that is demonic? And they use the same interpretation for our personal lives. You finish school, you're not getting a job. You wrote 3 applications. You wrote 3 applications. They were not called. Then you give up and you go to some church somewhere and they tell you that, your grandfather somewhere is your ancestral case, familiar spirit, and you believe it. You wrote 3 applications in an economy that you are producing not less than 200,000 graduates every year looking for job, and who are those creating the jobs? Nobody's creating any job anyway. Just a few foreigners who are trying to build businesses in here, and go to all those businesses. The accountants are foreigners. The accountants are foreigners. And so if you finish school and you're looking for a job, get the facts. These are the facts on employment. So you cannot write 1 application, 2 applications, 3 and get a job. You probably have to write about 1,000 before you get a job. That's the facts. If you start a business and face, these are the facts. This economy, 40% interest rate. People will not give you the job. They will rather people will not give you the contract. They will rather start a company and give themselves the contract. These are things. You put a manager there. If you don't train him well, he will take the money and run away. The employee that you put there, they are looking for American visa to go. They are not focused. They are not committed to the work. These are facts. So when your business fails in this kind of economy, it's not demon. There are things that you didn't know. That's why the business failed. So go and work on those things. Systemic failure. It's as simple as that. Yet they are calling you. You see, the dollar is going. We have to pray for the dollar. No. Every Sunday, how much do we give to churches? And what do they use that money for? They keep them. Yet that money is for production, for factories. If the country is generating, is producing a lot of things that we are exporting, that the dollar won't suffer. We don't produce anything. We import a lot of things. And then you wondering why the dollar was misbehaving and the economy was being run badly by people who were just looking contracts. What do you expect? This is what will happen. And here somebody is trying to tell you that is demonic somewhere, we're going to arrest it. Don't believe those things. That's why they have conditioned us to be unstable in our minds. And that's why our lives continue to go up and come down, continue to go up and come down, whether your finances, whether your marriage, whether your career, because you've been fed wrong knowledge on yourself, on God, on finances, on work, on almost everything that takes, that you have to become to get organized to produce anything that grows. There's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of confusion around a lot of things. And that's why people are struggling. Because we don't sit down to stabilize the mind. Think through a lot of things. And ask questions. That why are this not working? Why is this not working? We don't ask that. Because they told us not to ask questions. Because if you ask questions, it means you are against God. And so thank you very much for watching. My name is Kwabena. I talked about stabilize your mind and stabilize your life. And I'm saying that until your mind is stabilized, your life will never be stabilized. And when you see the results of a stabilized mind, you see consistency, you see growth, you see self-confidence, you see value for human lives, you see character, you see justice. Those are the things that come out of stabilized mind. And stabilized mind builds stabilized life. And stabilized lives, the individual lives build a better country or a better company. And so if the people have doubts of themselves because of the information that we have given them, we will not have consistent results. And there's a lot of errors that you have given us on God, on work, on life in general. Living in Africa, there's a lot of finance. There's a lot of instability on financial knowledge on Africans. If you have to go into it, that will take another hour. Instability on how we understand finance. You go, you work, you get money, you go and build 10-bedroom house. You'll never be rich. In a house that you never live in, you'll never be rich. You think that you'll be rich by working for 3 jobs, you'll never be rich. There's so much we don't understand about that, and then you go and pay your tithe and think that once the pastor has paid for you, you'll be a millionaire. That has never happened, and that will never happen. You create wealth out of product, out of services, or out of good work that you have, out of good financial knowledge, financial management. That's how. If you're able to do that, if you're shrewd, if you're systemic, if you're organized, then you can have a good financial foundation. And if you have that, then you can have financial success. So if they didn't teach you that and you don't know, and you're just praying, you'll never be rich. So that's the basic fact. And if you doubt yourself as an African, you think that Africans, the blacks are cares and all those, that is an instability. You'll never be rich. If you think that God is the one waiting to solve all your problems for you, maybe kind of thing, that is not going to work. God is actually giving you a strong mind. If you're on this earth, number one tool that solves and makes people successful is their mind and how they use it and how they stabilize it. If the mind is weak, you're weak. If the mind is stable, your life is stable. It's as simple as that. If you think rich and you have strong financial knowledge, you'll be rich. If you know, if your work ethics are good, you will work well and prosper. If you have proper knowledge on your relationship, on your health, things will work. It's a lot of it is like that in this life. You know, but they are trying to let people become spirit on this physical world so that they can control you with the revelation of the demon, of God, and all those confusion that they are throwing out in people's lives. And so, your life is your life. You have to organize it. It does not mean you don't love God. The proof of you loving God is the love that you have for people, the respect, the justice that you go for people, the character that you have for people. You cannot say that you know God and you're very dishonest, you don't love people, you're not clear, and you just because you go to church and come back, you think that you know God. That's a lie. That is religion. That is not knowing God. But Christ himself was very organized. So there's a lot of errors that you can only attack by talking the religion. And then when you talk the religion to people get confused and get angry and they want to fight you. But that is fine. You know, so it's your life and you have to organize it and stabilize it until you get that. You are not going to have consistent flow of things that you so much want. And so thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Thank you.